sometimes, you know, some comments is slow.
I don't know, I heard it goes over 4 minutes. It's not my fault.
No, that's what I heard.
Okay, ready to start. All right, so my name is Bryan, and my past is in photography. I've been passionate about that since I was a little kid, and so that became my career, and I really enjoyed it, but I was more interested in film as I continued to develop, and as the technology changed, it suddenly became very easy to get a hold of that kind of technology. So it happened that became my new job to create films in part, and so I made a lot of very bad films for commercial purposes, very commercial films, we'll say that. But I was really interested in the idea of using that medium to actually make things that are interesting artistically. And so I started to play with that a little bit. Collaborating with some undergraduate students, I started doing some work that's kind of like this. I'll just turn off the sound. So this is something I just did for fun with some friends, and the concept and a lot of the art direction was brought to me, and I just sort of shot it, although I did have a lot of influence. And the theme of ritual, of this religious kind of mystery was really interesting to me, and I really liked it. But it wasn't quite what was really my passion. It was definitely Sam England's concept, actually, with this, to name names. But it was fun to do, and it made me think I want to do some more things like that. So I did this in the spring, and over the summer, in my mind, lots and lots of ideas were mulling, and so come that next year, I entered grad school and started playing with some ideas of Abraham and Isaac. This is a story that has always bothered me from being a little kid in Sunday school to even to now, revisiting it. The famous poem by Wilfred Owen about the old men and the young definitely influenced me as a student. And so I wanted to bring all of that back around and try to just approach this story cinematically and try to approach it without bias and allow my own bias to come through by doing that. And I think that that's kind of what happened. So I'll show you a little bit of that film here, and we can jump around a bit. So I shot this basically in a single day and then another evening of pickup shots. And that kind of, is that okay? Oh, you want to turn off the lights? Okay. So that kind of style really speaks to me, to work quickly, and I feel like I'm really scared now. No, it's fine. It's good either way. So using the techniques of photography and film that I've used professionally, I was just trying to approach this directly. And from a technical standpoint, I was definitely trying new things, pushing myself on the computer as well, still trying to achieve a naturalistic look, of course. And definitely I've been criticized for like the overly smoothness and of these like tracking shots that you see here. And so that's definitely something I've been responding to as I'm doing it. But basically I'm working with just PVC pipe and wheels to create that kind of effect. And really embracing the fact that all of this cinematic tools are so accessible now. So basically what we have here is the story, this journey of this child and this parallel that you see between him and the story of Christ and God. And the refrain, Akeda, means the binding, which is a Hebrew term that is actually used when talking about a wedding as well, and other things like that. And so the thesis of this piece really became this binding between God and Abraham, and between Abraham and his child, and how he's being torn in those two different directions there, in those two different loves. And he's asked to do something that is completely beyond what is acceptable in our society, and I think that opens some questions about how we respond to religious fanaticism and faith in general, and where you would draw a line in that. So you see, we go in, and so like some of this was shot one day, and then some of this was shot another day, but they work together for me for some reason. Probably, I don't have to go into it much. All right. And I'm not going to show you the ending. Another piece I was working on that is this Onan's box that deals with the idea of shame, masturbation, sexual repression, things like that. And so we're looking at like the verse about Onan, about spilling the seed, is quoted often to condemn masturbation from the Old Testament, which is very misquoted from my perspective. So this is like an old-timey kind of 3D image looking thing. Man, I forgot the name of them. Anybody want to help me out? Thank you. All right. What, old-timey 3D image looking thing isn't the right word? And so inside there are some sexy kittens, and they're in 3D, and it's kind of fun. So in all this work, I'm really interested in both the technical and the conceptual with that, and trying to balance those things and not get too obsessed with either one has been part of what's been a struggle for me. And so every once in a while you see them get splatted here. If you watch long enough, there'll be some delicious grape jelly in there. So the idea that every time that you masturbate, a kitten is killed, or I don't remember the. Yes, thank you. God kills a kitten. That makes it more relevant. So this is the idea. So this is like a playful little piece that. But what I like about it is it creates an object that can participate in a gallery, and I showed this in 2 galleries so far, and that was a way for me to kind of enter that space of the art world a little bit, and also say, oh, and I'm a film artist, because there's a tiny little bit of film in there. So that's kind of interesting. So the music for what I'm working on is being written by an undergrad named Chris Ramos, who is working on an honors thesis. And so we've kind of jumped in the same boat here, and we're trying to create this both musical experience and audio experience at the same time. So he's writing these on a computer, and then and then we're giving this to musicians and recording it live like this. And so basically I'm just using a small microphone to capture this kind of stuff. I just wanted to capture the actual situation. Apparently I can't keep focus. Okay. All right, so in addition, I've been doing some kind of fun stuff with a group called the Circle Work out of Central Track. And these guys were really a lot of fun, very playful people, and kind of got me out of this idea of being a very straightforward cinematographer that's going to make these dark films, and got me thinking a little bit more freedom. I've got probably 3 films that I've been working on that are completely separate from my graduate work that are completely irrelevant. I mean, irreverent, probably irrelevant as well. But this is a little taste of those. This is like a preacher talking about the story of Elisha. My mind has gone blank again. I should have written that down. But how he's sicked some mother bears onto 40 young boys when they made fun of his baldness. So that's just a side note. Another fun thing that I've been working on in between is playing with a program called Isadora that lets you kind of manipulate video in really different ways and manipulate it live. So this piece is referring to the burning bush and the idea of community and referencing the Israelites community in that way. So, and it was part of a huge group piece that I think there were probably over 40 different artists involved in this piece, and it was ended up being projected onto this space right here at this RO2 show last summer. So this is some new stuff you guys probably haven't seen, but this is probably a good reason you haven't seen it either. So moving on, I started really trying to, at this point, I really started to try to plan out this ideas that I have in a long term. So I started doing some sketches, illustrating what I'm wanting to do. And of course, my ideas for these things are always just astronomically much more difficult than anything I can possibly do. How am I doing on time? Should we wrapping up?
You got 10 minutes into it.
Okay, thanks. And so here I have the idea of creating a mechanical elephant, which is harder than it looks. But so the second film I was really like jumping into, this is some tests for it. It's the idea of the flood, and Peter Spear, an illustrator, really was just taken by this illustration that he did of the ark as it was like as the water was coming up around it, and there's all these animals all around the ark, and there's 3 frames, and they're slowly being flooded until all you see is just the giraffe's head, and then they're gone. And really, like, such a strange thing to put into a children's book. But it really influenced me to think about, what about these other people who were innocent, or these animals that are innocent? The idea of God destroying the entire world is that in the same way I'm questioning, these are things that I'm questioning why these are, and these are kind of stressing my faith as I look at them more closely. So I did some shooting with these different animals. You guys are supposed to laugh right now. I wanted to use real animals, and I went through all the paperwork for that and everything, but just it was not working out well. So I moved toward bringing that in a little bit, and also there were some moral issues, of course. And so I wanted to dunk like elephants into water. or any animal. Ashley wouldn't even let me use my own cat. So I ended up using puppets. So that was like a little test with a puppet here, just like using rabbit skins, and ended up creating this film. First, I made the series in a tank, kind of isolated, but then brought it back and tried to show some of this. I guess we can have some music here. Try to bring it back a little bit and show some of the context for this, like establishing that these are an innocent creature that's getting ready to be slaughtered, basically. So I'll skip forward a little. So it starts raining, and then we go underwater, and then we move toward this abstraction, kind of influenced by Bill Viola's work with a really slow motion. And once again, really, really interested in the technical side of things, trying to, figure out how to slow something down as much as possible underwater. It was really a fun technical problem that is completely aside from the concept. So this is extremely long and probably too long, but you get the idea. Moving on. This all is culminating into to a series of 5 films that we'll be showing. And so another concept that I'm working on right now is the story of Jericho, and relating that to Katrina and the just horrible things I heard Christians say about New Orleans, that they would deserve to be destroyed in Katrina, which is just really surprising to me. And so I look at this story of Jericho, where this entire city is destroyed in the wake of these Israelites, and this act of God comes in, and so we see a parallel there. So I've been animating different Mardi Gras type situations like that, and so scouting out, I found this lady here who's really interesting, lives here in town, and this is where I'll be shooting that film. She's just really a very insane person, and she's been boarding up her house ever since she moved in all these really interesting ways. So I've talked to her and convinced her to let me film this and have a marching band go around this house, and also created this little model of the house that can be destroyed, which is kind of fun, and it mirrors it. I think as I manipulate it, it'll look more and more like that. And so there's a lot of so I'm also playing with silhouette for this piece, and looking at Chinese silhouette theater, and so just playing with different effects like that. I'm really interested in smoke as a theme throughout this piece. And also here's the idea of this wind going across this thing. So I'm just basically dumping dirt on top of it sideways, and then just turning it afterwards. And so these are just basically experiments that will probably end up in some way part of the final piece. And another piece that I've been working on is this the story of creation, and creating a kind of a funny but kind of telling parallel between the story of evolution and the story of creation, and trying to show a real contrast between that. So we're taking some things very literal about God floating over the abyss here, and then jumping right into him creating light, and then taking these little creatures and making them, physically making them out of hard and fast pieces. And so that's kind of the thesis of of this film, is this contrast between that. And so I'm still working out how to make that work between these things. So that's why I've kind of started working on this Jericho film a lot more since then. And I'll just skip this and this. So the final iteration of this would be a live performance with live music, and the film's being projected above those live musicians as well. And that will be, it's locked down for next semester, at the end of next semester, right before finals, and in the music building. Is that it? I think that's it.